I bet you that the next 30 minutes will fundamentally shift the way you think about health. Every time I sit down to write this script, I have to expand the scope of the video to incorporate some new piece of media that offers deeper insight into the Liver King conflict. Brian Johnson, his Liver King persona, and the conflict surrounding it has some unintuitive implications and can help to expand the way we think about our health and how to maximize it.
Brian Johnson, the Liver King! Liver!
Bless Andrew Schultz and the Flagrant crew for bringing real primal energy into my intro. We'll see more of them later on.
Primal! Liver!
And though Andrew is a career comedian with a satirical podcast, his face-to-face with Liver King reacts more like a therapy session with surprisingly harmonious results. A pleasant turn of events when someone steps outside of their wheelhouse to offer a new perspective on a pertinent issue. I applaud them, as today I intend to do something similar. I try to objectively analyze, measure, and synthesize as much of the available information as possible before I present my thoughts to you, the intern army. As an orthopedic surgeon, my focus is on the overarching mechanical function of the body: bones, joints, ligaments, tendons, and the like. But my practice has led me time and time again to the realization that our health is a complicated interwoven tapestry wherein each system affects the one adjacent to it. For example, your posture may be connected to how you feel emotionally, manifesting in recurring slouching that over time compounds to produce a sore back. Similarly, our health is influenced by the many aspects of the environment around us, from social settings to weather to, well, media personalities and the content they produce. In this case, the health of the Liver King's followers, some of them very vulnerable.
I love my man. Do you want to take a picture or anything?
Yeah, let's take a picture.
Yes.
My mom's gonna be so happy.
Is intertwined with his dishonest marketing approach. The visceral response to the Liver King lie, "Buy more plates, more dates," is telling. 4.3 million views in 11 days at the time I am finishing this script. So by now, we all know he lied about taking steroids.
I've always told the truth. I still tell the truth. I don't touch this stuff. I've never done this. Never taken steroids. I've never done PEDs. And number one, I don't do it.
And that Derek of More Plates, More Dates and Zach Thielander created a video to shed light on the truth behind Liver King's hyperbolic claims by way of leaked emails. Shortly thereafter, Brian Johnson,
Who the f is that guy?
his government name, posted an apology.
The question has always been, do you take steroids? The answer to that,
You said no, the lie detector test determined.
That was a lie. Yes, I've done steroids. And yes, I'm on steroids.
Well, there goes everything I ever believed in.
Why are you letting them do this to you, bro? We know you're natty, bro.
Yes.
We know you're natty, bro. This is bullshit the way they're attacking you.
But in all seriousness, no, his physique is not the result of a finely tuned but attainable primal lifestyle as he led everyone to believe. It is a result of performance-enhancing drugs and an extremely stringent daily regimen that would be impossible to follow for someone with regular commitments, responsibilities, and resources. Now, in his interview with Andrew Schultz, Liver King does say,
For the record, I never said eat liver and you're gonna look like this guy. Never have I said anything remotely even close to that.
so far in my research, I have found this to be true. And before I explain why that doesn't absolve him of blame, let me address Brian's critics. In the heat of the moment, several people have said something similar.
The Liver King is an idiot.
Walking around saying that eating liver
Will turn you into a freak.
I want to remind everyone that a fair analysis must be objective wherever possible. We gain nothing if we react to an inflammatory situation with inflammatory critique. In the operating room, cool heads prevail.
Lord have mercy, Jesus Christ, help me in the name of Jesus.
That being said, does it matter that he didn't say this? In my opinion, no. Because he's promoting a lifestyle by making his body hyper-visible on social media, which basically invites our brain to draw an associative link between the two. This is basic marketing. If anything, I am frustrated that a man with a successful string of businesses and obvious marketing knowledge feels compelled to draw attention to this fact as though it matters. It doesn't. We see body plus lifestyle. We conclude body equals lifestyle. Though this may be a false causation, we intuitively relate process and outcome. And with the Liver King, the outcome is so extreme that there is some level of cognitive dissonance between process and outcome, though some may not have been aware of it. The brain goes, If I follow a similar lifestyle, I can look like that. The brain also goes, no way is that ever possible.
I'm gonna spoil it right now. I don't think he's natural.
Health professionals go, he's lying.
I also don't know if he's supplementing with any kind of exogenous hormones. Not making any presumptions here, but it's possible.
And Brian swears over and over again that it's true.
All right, here we go.
I take PEDs.
Yeah?
I prioritize, execute, and dominate every morning.
Rinse and repeat, and the tension continues to build. Ever watch a good thriller where it's difficult to tell what is true?
I'll tell you why it's a genius. Because he avoids answering the question, keeps controversy and debate over the subjects, which allows him to pull more views, more interaction.
In part, that's why Derek's video feels like such a massive bomb when it resolves this tension. And then we see the extent to which Liver King actually goes to maintain his physique in the form of an email shared with him by Brian's former trainer, Vigorous Steve, including a full breakdown of his daily regimen. And it's very different from what his marketing has been suggesting.
Wake up at 6 a.m., work out at 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. I always train fasted. If I'm not going to my ranch, I don't leave my compound.
And so on and so forth until the evening.
Wait 30 minutes after the Omnitrope, have a 30-gram protein shake and 2 ounces of red meat and get ready for bed, 9 p.m., bedtime.
I invite you to pause for a closer look or cue Derek's video up for later if you haven't already seen it. If I were to sum it up in a word, it would be intense. And even with seemingly infinite resources, which he won't let anyone forget.
Before social media, I was rich and anonymous. And after social media, I'm still rich, but no longer anonymous.
A flexible schedule and a mountainous stack of PEDs at his disposal, the lifestyle he leads is challenging to maintain. While there are a lot of beneficial things about it, the frequency and intensity of his training alone would put insurmountable stress on his body and mind.
And I really fucking thought to myself, I might not be able to do this one.
After I saw this, but before I saw the Liver King on Flagrant, I knew I had to talk about overtraining.
You know, I gotta crush myself in the gym multiple times a day just to feel like I'm okay.
There is a glaring emotional component that we will get to momentarily. But first, let's talk about the physical side.
But the more direct root cause is I overtrain like f***ing crazy. And when you overtrain like crazy, you know how badly that fucks up your hormones?
Thanks for the setup, Brian. Overtraining, sometimes referred to as overtraining syndrome, is a maladaptive response to excessive exercise without adequate rest, resulting in perturbations of multiple body systems: neurologic, endocrinologic, immunologic, coupled with mood changes.
What? Vegetables?
Of special significance to our story is the endocrine system, which manufactures and regulates the release of hormones in the body. Please note, Brian mentioned training with high intensity and frequency for the past 35 years or so. A system that is under constant stress for a long time responds similarly to a bone or joint that is under chronic stress, though the mechanism is obviously different, eventually leading to a breakdown of the involved components. There is one key difference. When a knee develops osteoarthritis, or a person suffers a fragility compression fracture in the low back, it is possible to see it, identify the problem, and fix it, literally with surgical hardware. An endocrine system is a complex network of glands and organs: pituitary, thyroid, hypothalamus, testes, ovaries, pancreas, the list goes on, that produce over 50 hormones, identified by scientists in the body so far, to regulate a diverse range of functions including metabolism, growth and development, sleep-wake cycle, mood, sexual function, reproduction, etc., etc. Need I say more?
No, God!
And that is just one of the systems affected by overtraining. And well, they all influence each other. Basically, without adequate rest, the body begins to shut down.
Cognitively and physically, you just fall apart.
Got you.
You just fall, and that's actually why I really sought the help, all the help.
Wait, is he trying to do my job for me? The I need to work out to feel okay piece comes into play here. If his body is suffering from long-term overtraining syndrome, but his emotional well-being depends on continuing to work out at a maladaptive rate, This conundrum reminds me of Dr. Gabor Mate's definition of addiction, which uses 3 criteria. 1, craving the addictive substance or behavior. 2, engaging in the addictive substance or behavior in order to experience pleasure or temporary relief from some kind of pain. And 3, the inability to give the substance or behavior up. Within this framework, Brian seems to have an addiction to working out. In an incredible twist of fate, Andrew Schultz is the one to empathetically platform this part of his backstory.
The first day of middle school for me was some guy who looked like he was 35 with a mustache and everything. Hawks a loogie on his hand, smacks me in the face.
Brian reveals that he was bullied constantly throughout middle school.
My entire middle school, not once did I stand up for myself. And when the guys would come, I would just walk back and say, you don't want to fight me, I'm a pussy.
Eventually, however, he was able to face up to one of his bullies. He throws a punch, misses, and falls pathetically to the ground. Then, with his back against the wall, in a show of desperation,
and as he's coming up to kick me, I picked him up and I manhandled him. And I realized how strong I am.
A true David and Goliath story. Very interesting.
I still need to do that, to crush myself, to destroy myself. Enough times to be like, I'm okay.
Now, you may be questioning the validity of everything he's saying, and so you should be. His credibility has suffered irreparable damage. You may also feel that he is shielding himself from the full brunt of the blame, and I think to some extent that is a fair observation as well.
And this is true.
Yeah, right. But perhaps for a moment, we can settle into the conflict. We cannot deny the effect of formative experiences such as this. I'm sure that we can all look back to some point in our lives to an event that had such a profound impact, it influences our actions to this very day.
Apologise to Ben.
Okay, or look at him.
Yes.
Shake his hand.
Yes. And say, sorry, Ben.
Sorry, Ben, motherfucker.
No, Jonah.
During my residency, one of my preceptors looked me in the eyes on many occasions and said that I was never going to be an orthopedic surgeon. According to him, I wasn't suitably dedicated to the craft, choosing after a 36-hour shift to go home to spend time with my family instead of spending extra time at the hospital.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving!
Though sobering to admit, that is still one of the primary motivators in my life, 25 years after the fact. Even though I am an orthopedic surgeon who has treated many patients successfully, it lingers. Some of the people closest to me have observed that I approach work and professional advancement with addictive fervor. Sound familiar?
To crush myself, to destroy myself.
Dr. Gabor Mate explores this type of profound negative experience in the shaping of addictive behavior. From my understanding, he perceives addiction as a symptom of a deeper emotional root cause. He proposes that we ask not why the addiction, but why the pain? And I have found that helpful in shifting my paradigms surrounding addictive behavior. Dr. Mate's work concerned
severely drug-addicted people in Vancouver's downtown east side. In my 12 years of work there, I met not a single female patient who had not been sexually abused as a child.
Dr. Gabor goes on to ask,
now, who the heck chooses to be sexually abused as a child? All the men had been severely traumatized in multiple ways. Who the heck chooses to be traumatized?
And then he delivers a very thought-provoking conclusion.
The addiction then is an attempt to soothe the pain that's imposed by childhood trauma. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, my ambition is to become a drug addict and break the law.
Now, I doubt the Liver King woke up in the morning and said,
I want to push my body so hard that my IGF-1 levels drop below the normal range. I begin to feel cognitively sluggish and I have difficulty sleeping through the night.
His overtraining habit sounds less like a conscious process, more like an animalistic urge to get to the gym and lift! Lightweight. His subconscious mind was saying, I need to continue working out because it's how I've learned to create emotional stability and self-worth. Then his body begins to shut down and he turns to PEDs. It's not a secret that anabolic hormones play a crucial role in the body's response to metabolism, repair, and adaptive capabilities, especially in response to anabolic type resistance exercise. And with at least 7 compounds in his system at the time of the email last year, they are one of the reasons he can even think about maintaining such an intense training routine.
Here's what I'm currently taking. So here's this stack, IGF-1 LR3 presumably. I've been taking this for a year. CJC with IMAP.
There is research that suggests that moderate use of testosterone under professional medication counseling might offer effectiveness and efficiency in both recovery recovery and rejuvenation, and should be considered a possible option in conducting study for exercise rehabilitation. Just look at Conor McGregor's recent change in physique noted while rehabilitating from a bad tibia fracture while competing in the UFC. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're looking at an extensive list of powerful compounds that definitely present a health risk. But I'll forego spending more time on that. Check out my video, Get Swole and Die, for more information about PED use and abuse. Keep in mind, the leaked list of compounds was contained in an email soliciting further advice because Brian was experiencing lower than normal IGF-1 levels, among other symptoms, while trying to take his physique to the next level.
Now, he was trying to figure out why all of the GH related stuff he was using was not working.
In this video, Chris Williams features Derek on his channel, where Derek explains what he thinks.
Because he does, I believe, have a unique genetic predisposition that makes it harder to produce IGF-1, or it was some of the other drugs he was using that were kind of inhibiting it.
So the IGF-1 hormone manages the effects of growth hormone in your body, and they work together to promote tissue growth. When this hormone is low, someone may experience. And while IGF-1 may be negatively affected by extreme lifestyle or long-standing diet choices, Derek believes it to be the result of an inherent deficiency, or several of the drugs impacting each other, because
when you're using that much shit, it's really hard to imagine that you wouldn't manually be putting your IGF-1 way higher.
Medical detective work at its finest. And I'm glad he mentioned that it could also have been the result of another drug that he was taking inhibiting it. When you're involved in so many extreme behaviors, they can begin to influence each other in unforeseen and unexpected ways. It's definitely a mysterious finding, and without extensive testing, we can't be sure of the root cause. Without conclusive information, we also can't rule anything out. So before we move on, perhaps we can consider a third possibility. In Gabor Mate's conception of addiction and his seminal work, The Body Says No, he proposes a conception of the body and mind as an integrated entity wherein the body generates symptoms in order to address something psychological that the patient is unwilling to consider or has dissociated from. Sometimes, when the cause of the thing is unclear in the conventional physical model, that is to say, I'm doing all the right things and taking massive amounts of synthetic hormones, why are my levels low? It is at least worth asking, is there a psychological element I'm completely ignoring? Or an extreme case of overtraining fatigue that I'm masking with an outrageous stack of drugs? The innate intuition of the body is to find a novel way to return to homeostasis, and perhaps a unique sickness or a unique genetic predisposition develops to deal with a unique problem. But whatever Brian's reasons for taking them, it is crystal clear that his own lifestyle is a significant departure from the one he preaches for the average primal. So why the disconnect? I dare say, I agree with the surprising percentage of the information contained in the 9 ancestral tenets, and I can see how they could help someone lead a healthier life. They are simple, attainable, well thought out, and considerable research is evident in their formation. Whoever wrote these is no slouch. Obviously, when someone builds their brand on transparency and honesty, and subsequently is outed as a liar, it can be difficult to determine which of their messages are true and which are BS. Not to mention the collateral damage that a public figure can cause with unsavory behavior. When millions of eyes are on you, the effects are multiplied. Roll the clip, fellas.
Liver King, the public figure, was an experiment to spread the message. To the 4,000 people a day who killed themselves.
Wait, is he?
80,000 people a day that try, our people are hurting at record rates with depression.
No. My goodness, I think he is.
He did it for the hurting people.
As Joe goes on to point out, it sounds as though he sought to inspire people struggling with mental health to reach their most dominant form. Unfortunately, the initial apology really does sound like he's trying to shield himself from criticism by posing as a savior.
Wanted to lie about how he achieved his physique, mislead these people just by eating liver. You can come close to that, so as you fail at that as well.
Setting vulnerable people up for failure by modeling an unrealistic end goal while coercing them to buy his supplements to attain said goal. Thanks for pointing that out, Joe. Always a pleasure to be on your podcast. I think there is a legitimate concern, and bringing mental health into the equation at a time where your actions may have had a negative effect on the mental health of your followers is questionable.
You can empathize with somebody that sees that.
Oh, 100%.
And
I can empathize with them.
Resentful.
I deserve it. They should be resentful about it.
How much danger did the Liver King put people in? Is there a way we can quantify the harm he caused by misleading people to invest their time, money, and effort in chasing an unattainable goal?
My dad's super into your supplements, the ancestral supplements. We just got the Liver King bars. They're great.
Can we measure that against his influence on people to adopt new, healthier ways of being?
White vegetables if you can eat meat. Testicles!
Oh, this guy knows!
You got it.
These interactions exist in a social realm of health, where the public exists as a larger system with many intricate parts. In this conception, we may be analogous to individual cells. In this context, is the Liver King cancerous? And are cells dying or becoming sick around him? Or is he an unknown compound causing you stress, but also stimulating growth in the system? What if a study showed that he'd helped thousands and no one had been critically injured in the process? Would your feeling towards him change?
And at the beginning of lockdown, I lost 2 stone with 1 kettlebell and watching your videos.
I'm half joking.
Sending the email to the guy that outs the guy that used steroids.
Yeah.
That's clearly you playing 4D chess.
You know, Photoshop. You know what?
As a medical professional, when I see dramatic events unfold, I try to look through the drama to quantify the actual effects of what is happening. Today, so much of what we consume is peppered with sensationalism to drive sales. Liver King is just the most recent extreme example of this. This sensationalism has created a framework in my mind where I just assume everybody to have a theatrical component and deeply question the things having to do with my health. As I learn more about a topic, I create a crude cost-benefit analysis. In relation to this drama, that may look something like this. We can look at the situation with even greater nuance. On the Andrew Schulz podcast, we got to watch a rich and powerful man show some level of vulnerability in front of a large internet audience, while a group of comedians probed him with thought-provoking questions and held him accountable for the emotional impact of his behavior and shared generally empathetic conversation. How often do you see a rich man brought to his knees and enter an emotionally challenging environment in an attempt to atone for what he has done? How often do you see a comedian in such an exacting and emotionally intelligent role? How do you measure the impact of an episode like this on the health of those who are watching it?
To me, I'm really glad that you're coming on right now and like saying the true reasons why you're even pushing this lifestyle. You're wrapping your self-esteem into something that I think is unhealthy. Yeah. You don't need to lift heavy shit 2 times a day to feel good about you. You have a wife, you have a family, you have successful businesses. Were you a good dad that day?
Yeah.
Were you good to your friends?
And when I heard Liver King speak about people in emotionally vulnerable positions for a second time on Andrew's podcast, it somehow felt less contrived. He also shared his reason for learning to overhaul personal health.
My kids had such severe health issues that they were taking ambulance trips to the hospital. 5, 6, 7, 8 different fucking doctors, all the same solutions, all the same bullshit.
Now, if I entertain the possibility that the ancestral lifestyle was truly developed as a means to help his family, he becomes more approachable to me. He now has to reckon with the facts that this will have on his relationship with the same people who set him on his path.
You know, I told them that I lied to them. And, fuck, man.
Now, there is the possibility that...
Is everyone working together? Is this some elaborate hoax? What are they talking about?
Gotta love Mr. Doucette, man. In one of his many videos on the topic, he suggests perhaps more plates, more dates, Liver King, Zach Thielander, Chris Williamson, Vigorous Steve, Andrew Schulz were all in cahoots.
Did they all plan this together? Let's expose this. Let's leak that. Let's blow the internet.
You broke the internet.
If so, this scheme is as elaborate as they come. Personally, I feel that the actions he takes moving forward will slowly strengthen or immediately and severely weaken his apparent apology.
Brian? Is that you? Yes, Liver King. It's been a while. We need to have a talk. What's there to talk about? I'm talking about him.
If it turns out that everything he said after the fact is a lie, pulling in his kids, doubling down on mental health, apologizing multiple times, R.I.P. reputation.
Liver King out.
So the question on all of our minds.
So my question to you is, would you be willing to go natty now?
To which he stated,
I believe so deeply in this message and the 9 ancestral tenets and the ancestral living. To answer your question, yes.
You would go natty.
A couple of things to note here. One, with the amount of compounds he's taking, it would be dangerous to stop cold turkey. And two, if he does stop taking everything, his physique should change and we'll be able to tell.
If he doesn't put out blood work regularly, which, he has no obligation to, I'm sure he's definitely holding something that is unsustainable if he came off everything, put it that way.
So time will tell. I personally hope he walks the road to redemption, as I think his ancestral tenets could help a lot of people. It could be terrible if it turns out that he's still manipulating the media, especially because that would besmirch the good messages he's shared so far and create more confusion in the minds of the average consumer. I want to love the Liver King because it'll take multiple voices moving in the same direction to create a planet full of healthy humans. But again, time will tell. Either way, through my analysis of his story, I hope you were able to begin to see the intuitive links between physical, mental, emotional, and social health. And I encourage you to think critically about media concerning your health. Luckily, in today's world, when something gains social momentum, there are many people to bring the rising star to task. To me, Liver King is like a scientific hypothesis. And hypotheses show their true mettle under the scrutiny of other critical thinkers. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you didn't, be sure to let me know why in the comment section down below. And as always, that's been a word from Dr. Chris, not your everyday ortho, where we see one, do one, teach one.